So for those of you who don't know me, I will present myself. My name is Ofer Feldman, and Ori, first of all, is my friend. And when he asked me to come, I told him that I have nothing to add after he's talking about the project and from the bottom of his heart, but I will try to do my best after the number one. So I'm in the company for the past, I work with the company for the past 15 years. In the company itself, the last 11 years, I used to be the CEO of the public company, the private company, and I'm a partner today. And I'm in charge of all the strategic planning for the group. And a big part of it now is Midtown Jerusalem, but all the other products that you see as well. I'm 42, I have 4 kids, I live in Ramat HaSharon, and I love orchids. So, I will try to tell you a little bit about our thoughts regarding this compound, because there is a lot. Normally, when you come to a plot, you have the area, you have the competition, you understand what you need to do, you know the better and different factor that we talk about all the time, and normally it's quite easy. When you are coming to a place like this, when history unfolding against your eyes, you have to be completely different of everything that you've done until now, but you want to bring your own history to the project. So I will begin, then this is how we do normally, by thinking strategically of the compound, before we take the architect, before we get to even the tender to win the compound, to see if we can bring our better and different factor to the area. Now, when you are getting to a project that is not in your hometown, Tel Aviv, because as you know, we didn't do a lot of projects here in Jerusalem until now, we understood that this is not Jerusalem, this is, I don't know, the best location in the #1 maybe city in the world. So there is a lot of responsibility over our shoulders, and I will try to show you what we did until now. You know the company, so I will skip it a little bit. Just to explain our method. We have triangle of the product, the audience, the competition, and in the center we create the storytelling or the actual product itself. So I'll try to go with all the things that we go through. It's a short presentation for, I think, a 6 months work of many people and a lot of thinking. So how Midtown creates? What is a Midtown? Midtown for us is a new urban idea that has to come together with a urbanic earthquake, no less than that. It can't be a place that you are coming and just doing another product. It has to be a coincidence of 2 things coming together, and this is Midtown. I'll try to explain. We did it once, as you know. We have Midtown Tel Aviv. Midtown Tel Aviv, and Itzik is sitting here. He was the CEO of the Midtown Tel Aviv and did all the project. So thank you, Itzik, for everything. And now he is running the project here for us, and will deal with every problem and success along the way. So Midtown Tel Aviv, the biggest project in Israel, 2.6 billion shekel, large compound. Nobody knew what it was before we started it. Nobody knew where Midtown is. But we know how to read the planning, Ataba, and we understand that there's going to happen something very big. And we did it in Midtown, and you know, you pass it through Ayalon, and you know what we did over there. And we want to try to create the same thing and much better here in Jerusalem. So we were talking about the big idea, and now the city earthquake. What is an earthquake? Or earthquake is not a good maybe example in English, but you all understand me in Hebrew. So what happened here? First of all, they decided there is going to be a new quarter in Jerusalem. As you know, Jerusalem got a lot of quarters. But in this borough, this is the city center. This is how they defined it initially. Accessibility, obviously, and something big happened. The fact that Jerusalem got, let's say, we got the legitimized from all the United States and other countries as the actual heart of Israel. You know, this is a very symbolical idea, but it was a part of something even bigger than this. And then the planning that they did inside the city. I'm trying to get fast because most of the things you already know, so I want to get to the point. So you have accessibility, you have tourism that is booming in Jerusalem from all over the world, and you have 1.5 million square meters of construction only on this area itself. I will explain exactly how. And this is from 20 high rises, minimum of 24 to 40 stories high, on 300 dunams. So you understand this is a big plot. These are the numbers, okay? 300 dunams, 1.5 meters. I'm talking about all the compound until the Gesher HaMeitarim. 20 stories, 20 high raises, 550,000 meter for office space, 95,000 for commercial, 93,000. I don't know how much the number are saying to you, but let's say Kenyon Ramat Aviv is 19,000 square meters. So you have 95,000, okay? Not 19, 95,000. And 210 meter of hotel and tourism. This is going to be a location that people will come from all over the world just to spend time due to the fact that it's going to be a hotel center eventually here, and 65,000 square meters of residential that eventually, I think it will be much more than this minimum double. Second thing, they decided to connect this area from a place that is just the entrance to Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem, sorry, to the connection. But this is not only the city dimensional, this is also the human dimensional. Jerusalem, and this is the time for Jerusalem, not just to be a city that contains its problem, but also to contain actual people that wants to live here, a place that people desire to come, and not only as a far dream for super Zionists, but just to people who would like to have an apartment here or to have their business center located in Jerusalem. It sounds obvious, but it's not obvious. This is not what happened in Jerusalem for the past, let's say, 30 years. I mean that if you imagine how many companies actually exist in Jerusalem, I'm talking about head office of major companies, you'll find out a very sad conclusion that, for example, lawyers who are dealing with the municipalities and the government and they are located here, they travel back to Tel Aviv. Why? Because there wasn't a proper place. This is not about demand, this is about a place to be in. So we have the connection with the transportation. You see where we stand between two, maybe the biggest streets of Jerusalem. Then the light train that is coming here and bus station. I'll show you in the presentation soon, but just to have a big spoiler. The entrance to Jerusalem, the place where the train station, major train station, as you know, Tachanat Yitzhak Navon, and the light train that stops right here, and bus stops, of course, all over, and the huge tunnel that's just going to merge right behind us. So people, when they will come to Jerusalem and go inside the actual city, they will go out from a tunnel. The first thing that they're going to do or to see is Midtown Jerusalem. This is how important this place is. Okay, so I want to tell you to go back to Midtown Tel Aviv. What we did in Midtown Tel Aviv is not to take, okay, we have commercial, we have residential, we know what normally people does with it. Let's plan the 2-bed, 3-bed, 5-bed apartments. Let's put a nice aroma next to a nice, I don't know, Fox home, and then you have some Zara over, and then you have H&M and Renoir. This is what normally been done. We decided in Tel Aviv to take a whole different angle. Why? Because we don't want to be a part of the competition with the malls. We want to create something different. And we decided to, let's say, to do a collection like you're doing on an art gallery and choose the right partners for us in the commercial. And this is not the biggest thing here in Midtown Jerusalem, but this is going to create the atmosphere. What we did in Tel Aviv is to bring Zappa, the #1 concert hall in Israel, that is going to move, and it is about to be finished 2 months from now. We have rock climbing, we have the best chef restaurants that we brought over to Midtown Tel Aviv. We have, I don't know, Yossi Shitrit and Kaiser Maison and the others that came to open their branch over there. And we have a very large hotel that we decided to run ourselves with our hotel company. Why? Because we want to make sure that the atmosphere and everything that we planned that will be happening in the, let's say, the arena of attention inside the Midtown Tel Aviv will happen. The story ends by doing a big success. Of course, everything will unfold, let's say, 6 months from now, and we'll see everything complete. But already, as far as appraisal worth of commercial in Midtown Tel Aviv. Today, I believe we are much better than the other malls that are around us. Why? Because we did a collection, like art collection. Second thing is to run streets, not to run mall, and I will explain it when we'll get to the planning, the actual planning of Midtown Jerusalem. Third thing is the community, to have the business with the tenants, with the guests, and with the visitor in the compound, connecting all the time together. This is a 24-hour, non-stop area that that has to deal with all the people that are going to be in the compound, residential, office, hotel, and commercial. And a very big, strong surprise that it sounds normal today, but this is not a normal thing in the actual normal of way doing, let's say, real estate compound. Normally, you have an address. We don't mind the address at all. And this is a big, ambitious idea to decide that this project won't have a street. It's going to have a geographic ownership. You will see that when we will end this project, and it will happen long before we will end the project, everybody will call this strip, and this is a huge strip as you saw before, everybody is going to call this strip Midtown Jerusalem. And all the other people or the developers that are going to develop other compounds around us, and it's going to be huge again, will call, and they will say we are next to Midtown. Eventually, they will be also a part of Midtown, but there's going to be only one original Midtown, and this is Midtown Jerusalem. And I don't care to promise you this idea, because I know we will deliver it, because we've done it before. By the way, Blue Tel Aviv, for example, is the northern border of Tel Aviv. Nobody knows the street. And I can tell you on and on project that we did until now. But in Jerusalem, since we have such a big history, of course, this is a big thing to take a geographic ownership over a city that exists for thousands of years. Last thing is the competition. Israeli terms, right? That's right. Okay, so this is the competition. I will try to explain. The reason why they call this compound originally the Rova Knisa La'ir, the quarter of the entrance to Jerusalem, is due to the fact that it starts here. You can see all the plots, but we are here, and we are nowhere near to the entrance of Tel Aviv. We're exactly on the center of Tel Aviv. I will show you some pictures, but Jerusalem again. This is what happens when you have a multi-brand, super successful product. Exactly right. So if I will go up the stairs here to the rooftop and we'll do the tour, you will see that we are right in the middle of the center of Jerusalem. This is the spot of the city when old and new and practice and art comes together. And this is a geographic fact, not just a fact that we invented. We cannot do make-believe here. This is, again, Jerusalem, and we have all the respect. We are only guests in the next thousands of years of the existence of the Jewish nation, and we are guests in the middle, but we want to create some sort of a history. So we are here, and we have Binyanei Hauma, and we have the court, the new court of Bet Mishpat HaMechozi that sits right here, and we have everything around us. But again, remember, this compound is going to claim the name for all the others. And when we approach the city, and we sit together, myself and Itzik, and I told Itzik, look, I'm going to show you the city, and everybody was there. I'm going to show the city, Midtown Jerusalem, and I'm going to tell them that they have a very bad name for the complex, and they did a very severe mistake, and they have to call the compound Midtown Jerusalem. And I told Itzik this is a big risk, because I don't know if they will kick us out of the window. Maybe they will be polite and will just kick us out of the door. But I believe we are, first of all, being honest, this is the actual fact. And second of all, we are Canada, Israel, and we know how to create real estate. And we did that. And I told them, look, if it's okay, it was the marketing stuff also inside who created the name. And I told them, this is Midtown Tel Aviv. And they just, first of all, yes, again, Jerusalem. It was at the beginning, let's say there was quite a quiet room. Just when I said, look, you have to call it Midtown Jerusalem. This is the new name of your complex that you've been planning for the past 10 years. Eventually, not only they agreed to do so, they changed the name in the city website. If you will go inside, you'll see you have Midtown Jerusalem already. So we are a fact. So the entrance is here, but we are right in the center of everything. So that was a very strong claim here, and we did it. So I talk about competition. You see, we have office, residential, all the rest of the strip, next to all the municipalities and government needs, court and others. In the business side, I'm going to speak very shortly about it, but this is a big deal. We have some people that lives in Jerusalem and know the city very good. There isn't a proper high-rises building, what we call AAA. Nothing. Most of the offices here are occupied by government. If you are looking for big complex, you have, of course, Mobileye, and you have other companies who build complexes, but they are isolated, they are with their own. You can see, and this is what I told everybody in the municipality here in Jerusalem, you can see the buses going inside in the morning with the workers, dropping them off, and then at the end of the day, taking back to wherever they want to go outside of Jerusalem. And we want to create the opposite. We want people, not only they don't need a car, they don't need to drive anywhere. They can do everything within the complex itself. And this is the business. We have to create the demand and tell them, look, we have a proper building for you guys, and you can come over. I can tell you, and Ori presented Microsoft, Wix, Ernst & Young, and this is what we brought to our buildings. This is exactly what we want to bring here. Big companies, household name, worldwide household name, and I know we are the only solution today for those companies here on Midtown Jerusalem. Second thing is the residential. The demand is high, but you can see this is only, let's say there is a lot of ghost neighborhood here in Jerusalem because a lot of people came from abroad, bought their investments here. Let's say it was a mixture between a gut feeling or a strong Zionist needs, and I'm talking about needs. This is something to longing for, but not actual investors that come and bought an apartment just for the sake of doing money, or people who will have a solution for, let's say, the two-bed apartment, okay, or one-bed apartment, the small apartment, nothing in the stock of Jerusalem, and the prices are skyrocketing. So this is the two things that we put against ourselves. Target audience is the last angle here, and super important. Target audience in the complex is the new spirit of Jerusalem. And you can see, you can't tell if anybody have yarmulke here, maybe they do and maybe they don't. And you can't see any kafia in this because all people are people and everybody has their own desired Jerusalem. But people of high tech that want to stay and live in Jerusalem, not just to work here because they have a good job and their factory is here, but to keep them inside the city once they are finishing their work at the end of the day and have places to hang out, drink beer, go to a concert, and to stay in the city. Former Jerusalem, this is a big audience, and we have some former Jerusalems here as well. They want to come back to the city, and we have to provide them this opportunity. And of course, people who live resident of Jerusalem, and people empty nest category that we saw that they are all coming to Tel Aviv. When we did Park Tzameret, if you know, the W Towers that we have in Park Tzameret in Tel Aviv, we have one building called W Boutique. You wouldn't imagine the percentage of people from Jerusalem that came to live in this neighborhood. Because the house was too big for them, kids left not only the house, but also maybe Jerusalem from time to time, and they want to come close to them and to bring to a city that they can do everything that they cannot do in Jerusalem. So we are going to give a very good solution for this target audience as well. Of course, foreigners and investors. Investors are not existing at the moment in Jerusalem. They didn't comprehend. I'm talking about the normal, let's say, investors, average investors, because they don't have the product, not because they don't want to. As you understand, the demand in Israel is not going to stop in any case. We want to bring them a good solution in Jerusalem as well. As far as business, freehold, okay, in general, we have some freeholds here, and governments, of course, and of course, to bring the big shot high-tech companies to Jerusalem. I don't know if you know, but most of the unicorns in Israel born and raised here in Jerusalem. And there is one big entrepreneur who arranged for us the collaboration here in this building with the new spirit we will see in the tour. He told me about it, and he wants to create a museum here as well for high-tech, because Mobileye Jerusalem, Waze Jerusalem originally, we have now Iron Source Jerusalem originally, and many other companies that you wouldn't believe they all started here. And of course, as I told you before, I think the common understanding of all this audience is the new spirit of Jerusalem. So this is the product as far as ideas. Now, how we want to present it graphic-wise. We want to surprise, we want to renew, and we want to connect. Remember everything that I spoke before. We have the compounds, you saw the area. Now everybody knows only this, the old hospital of Shaare Zedek, but the complex is 17 dunam, it's huge, and we want to brand all the other areas around us, as you understand. This is what we got from the government and municipality. This is what they gave us. They told us, look, you have 2 buildings, high rises of residential. You have the old building that you're going to do maybe a hotel or maybe not, and 2 office towers. Underneath the 2 office towers, you may create your own shopping center. This is what they gave us. Not only that, they told us this is the only thing that we can build here in Jerusalem. Of course, we didn't accept it at all, because to try to bring, let's say, a regular midtown, as we call it, like they do in Tokyo or they do in Germany, or you will see the other example, is not relevant here. Because you can see how the city looks like. You have Nachlaot, and we know how the streets of Jerusalem looks like, and this is what we created eventually. I'm going to show you all the architecture soon, but I think this is the super important. This is the streets of Midtown Jerusalem. And this is going to be the most interesting place in Jerusalem to spend, hopefully, in the next year. But you can see how complex everything, and I will show you in the architecture presentation. Not only that, this is not only streets, this is rooftops and patio and swimming pool on top of the roofs, and layers and layers and layers of project. The brand itself. When we did Midtown Tel Aviv, we understood that every great city has a Midtown. And nothing like this been done in Israel before. We saw the planning of Tel Aviv municipality, and we decided that this is Tel Aviv Midtown. In Jerusalem, it was easier because we did it already, and because I think this is more as a reality as ever that's being done here in Israel. And another thing, as far as marketing, we want people to think that they are part of a branch of something bigger than the actual place. You all remember when they opened a big branch of something here in Israel, when H&M opened the door first time, people are booming inside because this is it. McDonald's, they opened the first time. We want the people to understand that this is not a local story. This is a very big international story. And this is why every great city has a Midtown. And Midtown Jerusalem is energy. Midtown Jerusalem is super cool. Midtown Jerusalem is très chic. Midtown is wow. Midtown is unique. Midtown is exciting. Midtown is a new beginning. Midtown is being right in the center. And this is, again, the strategic plan for the brand. Now, another thing, as you remember, Midtown Tel Aviv is yellow. And we wanted to create a palette of colors that will reflect what we believe is supposed to be here in Jerusalem. It was easy, relatively speaking. There was some argument about it, but we decided that the blue color that first of all exists here in Nachlaot next door, part of good luck, as I don't know if you knew, but this is why they create blue doors, not only, by the way, in Jerusalem, but other places in the world. And of course, white. Together, they create the color of the Israel flag, and then we choose to do the Midtown Jerusalem in blue, not in yellow. Another thing is that we decided to take the Jerusalem and enlarge it as much as we can, because we understand Jerusalem is a brand that we will never be able to complete, so we better hug the brand Jerusalem and put it inside our logo as big as possible, almost as big as Midtown, and you understand that we like the product. And you have the M in both colors. So this is how it's going to look eventually, Midtown Jerusalem with all the symbols. You can see how it reflects. And by the way, what is the difference between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv in the branding itself? We did a whole color palette of ideas, not only with, you can see the atmosphere, and yes, we will have the bagel seller here in one of the corners inside Midtown Jerusalem. But once we get to the residential, we will go to the green. We want to create something, much calm and good for residential. With the work, we choose this color palette, and the shop will be happy, joy, and pink. The enjoy part also can be, this is, by the way, I don't know if you know this rapper. It's a very religious guy, Matisiao his name, and he is one of the, the biggest hit today. So you can have the mixture of everything, it's okay. So Midtown Jerusalem. This is some more of the ideas that we have, how the streets are going to look like, signage. You know that we have everything ready long before we started, I think, the architecture. We know what we want, and we know what we want, and we understand how it's going to look eventually. So every great city has a Midtown. This is our story here, and Midtown Jerusalem, here we come. Next stage was the architecture. And now I'm going to show you, for some of you maybe for the first time, for sure, because this is the most updated plan. What we did, let's see if I can turn it. Okay. We are sharing the screen with the presentation. Thanks. Okay. So, Midtown all over the world, and also our architect, you'll see who choose eventually, know Midtowns around the world. And it's super successful, always. Flagship architecture together with streets and history. And you can see it going along, project in Rotterdam, and you'll see it all over. Tel Aviv is all new. Here we have all the new together. This is a picture from Midtown Tel Aviv, if you had the chance to visit there. If not, looks nice. Okay, architecture. This was, and I hope this conversation is not recorded and not, we won't broadcast anywhere, because we started this complex together with what considered to be the #1 architect in Israel, which is Moshe Tzur. He did for us Midtown Tel Aviv. And he planned something here, and it was very nice, and it was very like Midtown Tel Aviv, and it was very like Midtown Manhattan. And we decided that this is not good enough for this city. And we decided to take a young architect that came from, you can see where he studied. I don't know to read or write the number of people, of institutions that he already studied, but he finished Pratt and Yale with full graduation, and he was excellent in everything. His name is Rafael de la Fontaine. Also, his name is good enough for architect. So it was the branding. I did the branding for him in any case. His name is Rafi Cohen originally. Never mind. Rafael de la Fontaine was born and raised here in Jerusalem, and he knows his city. And the first time we did a conversation with him, he was with tears on his eyes, and he was talking about this complex and how it's important to dissolve the city inside the complex and not to bring something foreigner into Jerusalem. It was because it will be a big mistake. And if everybody knows somebody from Jerusalem, first of all, he's from Jerusalem. And it doesn't matter if you don't live here for the past 50 years, he's from Jerusalem. And we started to plan the architecture just to show him that before he came to work in Israel, he used to be in KPMG, the biggest firm for architecture around the world. And then he did a lot of things. He was the right hand of Calatrava, who built the Gesher HaMeitarim here, but also a very known architecture. He was his right hand for 4 years, and then he came here. He did all kinds of very good, nice buildings around the world. This is Peninsula in Greenwich, if you know. I think the most beautiful project in London. This is all things that he did. Manhattan One West End, and Union Sun, and others. He combined together and did partnership with the biggest office, or the #2, together with Moshe Tzur. This is a competition, Bareli Kasif, because we needed somebody who knows the, let's say, the ways of doing business in municipalities in Israel. So he hooked with the #1. They are partners now. This is not just a collaboration between two companies. They are partners now, and this is another thing that we did. They did a lot of projects in Jerusalem, so we trust them to know the city as much as we need. So you understand the location already, and how much is it in the Midtown, light train, heavy train, central station, a station of the light train that sits right beside us. We have Romema, entrance to the city, Gan Saker, Knesset, city, the old city, and of course the market. This is all with a walking distance. This is Gan Saker, and it's right here, and this is the market, it's right here, and you understand. This is going to look. This is how the skyline of Jerusalem is going to look like in the next 5 to 7 years from now. All those buildings are completely new. This is the other plots, and this is Midtown Jerusalem in the center here. You can see, and you will see that this is now the largest construction site in Israel for the moment. It took me only 2 hours to get here. I supposed to come 3:30, but this is part of it, I guess. And you remember that I told you that we learn how the cities of Jerusalem looks like, and it looks like nothing else. It's not boulevards and streets. This is, I don't know how to call this. This is maybe balagan, but I think for people who live here, this is the charm of the city. This is the small place to get lost in. And that was the theme behind the streets here. Of course, we have the high rises just riding on us, but we want to start with the street level. So we measured the streets of Jerusalem. And I can tell you, you see the plot is going from height of this level in Rehov Yafo, and then it's going all the way down to Agrippas. The height difference is almost two stories. But if it was, I think, on the same height, we would create places to climb, places to go exactly like other streets of Jerusalem. People are used to go and climb a little bit. And this is the atmosphere, this is what we want to do. So, the existing building, and then we created the chain of streets inside the complex itself. This is how it looks like. The entrance to the compound can be from here, can be from here, can be from here, can be from here, can be from everywhere. It's not a place where you just, I came to the entrance to Midtown Jerusalem. No, there is no entrance. This is a quarter. This is a place that my favorite entrance to Midtown Jerusalem is through Rehov Yafo. You don't know where you want to go, or you don't know what kind of magic will happen you once you get this small street here, okay? So these are going to be the plan. This is 2 office towers, residential, hotel Shaare Zedek. There is another hotel that we are doing here, the Play Hotel, inside the office tower. There's going to be 6 kindergarten classes or more. 9 kindergarten inside the project, right here, right? So we have kindergarten, we have high school, we have Tipat Chalav. Everything is within the complex. This is given. This is a part of what we're supposed to do as far as charts that the municipality gave us, and everything will be, this is not just a place when you shove it in a corner. You bring everything to life. This is what will bring the value eventually. We have a -6 parking lot underneath. You understand how big it is. This is how the parking on the -1 will work. This is just to give you an example. The guest of the hotel will go to -1. They will have a skyline here, which is the drop-off of the hotel in order to get inside and to bring here. By the way, this is the lobby. There won't be an actual lobby of the hotel. It's going to be like a lounge because this is super exclusive, expensive, #1 hotel in Jerusalem. We're going to be here on this complex. We are going to call it, we are now working on the brand, and we want to pay our respect to the one who invented and let's say, did Shaare Zedek originally. I will tell you a history story later on. This is the entrance. This is the, let's say, inspiration that we had for the hotel, and we didn't need much because this is an amazing building, but this is going to how it looks like after the restoration. The entrance to the complex. This is the street's entrance. Of course, everything will look much better in rendering along the way, but you can start feel how it look like and how are the entrance with the commercial along the way. This is from Jaffo Street. So this is the end of the story. This is the plot and the open space. On top, we did the streets of Midtown. On top, we do the 2 high rises of residential and the commercial. So we have layers on layers of everything. And inside, you have the commercial, you have the kindergartens, you have everything. And Play Hotel, and this is how it's going to look like eventually. We're going to do an amazing rooftop, and you will all have a free ticket to the rooftop. All the rest is just technical issue. I just want to show maybe one last thing. This is the residential towers. For us, this was the effect. I'm not sure, the colors are not quite right in the screens. But you need to understand that what we designed here, and I believe the architect is going to win a lot of prizes, is to take high rises that normally you see the regular, let's say, transparent glass tower. You understand how high rises looks like. But we are in Jerusalem, and we don't want to make the same towers like we are doing in Tel Aviv. So we took the Jerusalem stone and put it on the tower. Now, if you can see here, these are all windows. We didn't spare any windows, the opposite. It's going to be floor to ceiling in the residential. But the angles that create intimacy in the balconies will also help us for the building to look with semi-stone building. This is, for example, the one-bed apartment. This is just a module. It's not, by the way, too expensive to construct, but it's very smart, just to give you an idea how it's going to look like daytime and nighttime. And this is the floor plan, just to give you an example. These are all one beds with the communal spaces that belongs to the floor itself, yes, to the floor, and it changes from every place, and you can see the angles of the balcony. So this is an extraordinary architecture. We have a long way to go in order to get everything that we want here, but this is the general idea, and you can see this is not regular, but for sure, the best demand, the one-bed apartments in Tel Aviv. This is going to how it looks like from outside. Another angle. So if you didn't want to live here by now, hopefully you understand that this is the it place for all of you. So thank you very much. I want to tell you that if you would, any of you would understand how Ori is taking care of you, I believe that nobody believes, you know, when he's sitting on the nights and he's coming into my room, I think 5 times a day, ask me with a very serious and worried face, what's going to be with all our investors? How we are going to create the best product for them? How we are going to make sure that we will provide not only what we promised, but much more than that. I think you will all be proud. And if I would need to buy something, I would buy it from Ori, and I will never ask questions because I know he will always do better than me as far as taking care of my money and my friendship together with him. So it's a good opportunity to say thank you, Ori. And thank you all for coming.